So with that note, I'd like to invite my another emerging scholar, Kelber from George Washington. This is an open access book, and he might have different experience compared to the Taylor and Francis. Kelber?
Thank you, Dr. Bista. Yes, so I'm Kelber Tozini. I stay at George Washington University, and I'm originally from Brazil. So my research interests are around higher education in Brazil, but mostly I actually focus on the international student experience here in the US. But I decided to focus on the Brazilian context for this project because we don't tend to talk much about the global South, especially Latin America, when it comes to higher education. And there's usually a very deficit-based view of education in the global South. So this chapter actually has a more optimistic approach on how federal institutions in southern Brazil responded to COVID-19. It was a context where all the classes were canceled for 3 to 4 months right after the pandemic started spreading in Brazil, but universities never stopped working. So students were still engaged in other types of activities. And even though classes weren't happening, learning was still happening. So I think that that was something important that we wanted to highlight with this. And this happened mostly through extension activities, which is more like outreach here in the US, in which universities basically, one of the missions of public universities is to devote significant time to their community. So universities basically created a lot of actions to teach the local communities on COVID-19 and strategies to cope with the effects of the pandemic. So, and how students at these institutions also got involved with this by giving presentations, engaging in hospitals, etc. So, as someone from the global South, I always try to bring a different approach that doesn't necessarily focus on the negatives, because we already are very critical of our system there. And we tend to just forget that we actually have a lot of positives in a context where public education is free to begin with, especially at the college level. So this is actually one of the 2 chapters that came out of this project. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I try to basically also spread knowledge using open access journals and books, because especially people in the global South don't necessarily have access to these, to paid publications as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelber. Appreciate it. In fact, this book also went for at least 2 years in the peer review process, editing, and also going through the external, typesetter and editors. So the journey was not so much different from the other book with Routledge.